Welcome to Changing Austin, and welcome to one of my favorite guests this season, Jeremiah Bentley. Welcome.
Wow, that's a high praise, a lot of expectations for what we're going to do going forward. But thanks for having me.
The bar is high.
Sure.
I'm certain you're going to meet it. So let's start off with making sure our audience knows, what is it that you do for a living?
My kids and my wife often ask me this too. So by day, I'm the vice president of marketing and community affairs at Texas Mutual Insurance Company.
Awesome. And by night?
By night, I'm an amateur soccer podcaster. How about that?
Perfect. And the name of your podcast?
Moontower Soccer.
Okay, of which Amplify is a supporter.
That's right.
We are very excited about that. So I want to touch on a number of different things today. So I want to hear some about your career. I want to hear a little bit about your early life. I want to hear fun facts about soccer that people in Austin wouldn't know. I bet you have quite a few of them. I want to hear a little bit about how it's been with the podcast. You've been at it a little while now. I want to, and I know a lot of people that, like people like me doing a podcast. I'd love to hear what your experience is. And then I want to hear about the community, which is how you and I originally came to know each other.
Absolutely. Right. Okay.
So let's start with, where'd you grow up and how'd you get to Austin?
So I grew up in a little bitty town in North Texas, just north of Denton, called Era, Texas, ERA.
Okay.
There's about 200 people there, and my great-grandfather, grandfather, father all grew up in the same town. So it's like the Bentleys, we moved there in like 1872 and decided to stop. I guess we decided that was the best place to be.
Okay.
And for like generations, we were there. My high school graduating class had 15 people. I'm like lettered in every sport because all you had to do was show up. But when I was 16, my family was all in the agriculture business. When I was 16, we were chasing errant cattle at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And my dad's like, "You belong in the city. Like, this life is not for you." And I was like,
wow.
"Yes, Dad, you're right. I am." And so came to Austin, like so many people, fell in love with the city, stuck around, and here we are, 30 something years later.
Okay. And was it college that brought you here or after college?
It was UT.
UT, same. I when people ask, how'd you get to Austin? I'm just say, well, I went to UT, thought I was going to a college town and discovered I came to an amazing city and I figured out a way to stay.
It's so great. Yeah. And I kind of majored in Austin and not so much in UT. And I was invited to leave a couple times. The dean of the computer science department told me I was wasting her time and mine.
Nice.
I was like, that's mean. Also, again, accurate. So like, maybe I should. But yeah, love this city and all the growth and everything that's gone on since we got here.
So you don't believe, oh, now Austin's best days are behind us. It's all been downhill since I got here. And just nobody knows what the good old days were like.
That is not, and that goes back to what, like the 1800s, I think. Have you ever seen that letter or the letter from the Statesman or whatever it was back then? It's a concerned citizen from 1884, like, oh God, Austin's all downhill. They've added this new suburb called Hyde Park and, it's all gone to heck. And no, absolutely. I mean, there's things that I loved, like places I love to go that aren't around anymore. I'm sure there are like newer, cooler places to go and things to do in Austin. But as a parent of teenage boys, I'm also not cool or new. I think the best thing is like the things that you can do in the food scene, like the things that you can eat are so much better than when we both came to Austin, I think.
Absolutely. Dramatically different. Yeah. So as you think about then, you know a lot about the Austin community based on both your personal involvement as well as your role with Texas Mutual. So talk a little bit about, I'd actually like to know, one, how do you decide what you're going to get involved in? Because I imagine you get asked to do lots of things and you have to be probably selective about what are the things that you personally get involved in. And then how does that tie to the impact you want to make through work?
I think that's a good point, right? I'm getting through that first cycle of the thing that we all do where it's like somebody asks you to be on a board or join a committee and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Thank you for thinking of me. That's so amazing. I can't wait to make a difference.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you realize like I'm on 10 boards and I can't actually be good at any of them. So I'm like right now in this part of my life being intentional about saying no to things, like really finding, my purpose and what I want to do. And I think what it comes down to for me a lot is just economic opportunity. And it's in a lot of different ways. We grew up with that a lot, but my mom was one of those like, hey, there's always people that have less or worse or whatever. My mom was one of the founders of the Children's Advocacy Center in Gainesville, Texas, right? That local, like the Cook County branch, of that. She helped start that. She was just like my parents were foster parents.
Wow.
Took in kids, that had challenges and not a lot of opportunity. And so that's really always been like at the core of who I am. And so through all the things that I do in the community, it really comes back to like, how do we help create opportunity for people who don't have that? Because the saying goes, right? Like talent is universal but the opportunity is not, right?
Yep.
There's only certain people that have the privilege to have the opportunity to do things. So how do we expose more people to that?
Absolutely. So as you think about now in this sort of season of your leadership where you need to be more selective so you can remain impactful, when you have to say no to an invitation, how do you say that? And is there anything else you do around it?
I mean, what I try to do is find somebody that is maybe into that or looking for that opportunity, right? You know enough people that maybe you find somebody else who's like me 10 years ago that's just looking
Right.
to get into boards and trying to find a place and doesn't know. It's like, so it's not me, but it should be somebody else. We have a connection I made with somebody with you that's looking about thing. And where it's like when you have this network of peers and trusted advisors and stuff, you can always help find somebody a way to get to a yes. That's maybe it's not me, but it's somebody else. Maybe it's not Texas Mutual's funding. Maybe it's somebody else that cares about your issue, and just staying connected and understanding who all the players are and what's important to them, I think is the way that I'm able to do that, hopefully in a way that's effective for the nonprofit too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that I try to do these days is a very similar path to yours. The first time I got invited to be on anything, I was just like, are they serious? Like, are they talking about me? Yeah. And I was pumped about it. And I to this day continue to believe I have learned at least as much, if not more, that I use in my day job today from my volunteer and board service than I have from my professional roles. So I've always looked at it and responded to it as a professional development opportunity as much as a community impact opportunity. And so what I often try to do is like exactly what you say. Who's the person that now could be that person for me? And I get to go to them and say, because I didn't come from this world, right? Like I didn't come from a world where I even knew that a nonprofit had a board of directors. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. And so it's very intimidating when you don't. Yeah, and it's like you don't know how this works, and especially things like, what's a give-get? Yeah, that I didn't know what that was. And certainly when I was of the age where I got invited to do some of this, I did not have the financial capacity to be giving the give. I luckily worked for a company that supported that, and they helped to support me in that way. And so now I get to be that company that is like taking somebody that's like, hey, that give get, let me explain to you what that means and how your company is going to be behind you and being able to do that so that you can have that experience.
Yeah, and the board thing is really interesting too, because I think that helps. We're probably in a position where you get to talk to your own board.
Yeah.
And I feel like having the experience of being a person who sits in this meeting once a month, has like the most surface level knowledge about what's going on, and having people come to me and like try to explain these like detailed things that I don't get. Like it helps when I'm giving my own updates, I'm able to put myself like in the shoes of a person who's receiving the information that doesn't have all this context and and things behind it. And so I guess that's been really good for professional development for me too, is just understanding like board company dynamics and things like that.
That's a great point. I hadn't really thought about that, but that's very true. I often think about, we're a financial institution, right? And we have a volunteer board of directors, and some of those folks have, finance and accounting backgrounds, but some of them don't. And so we're talking about things like loan sales and debt service coverage ratios and, all this kind of stuff. It's like, we still need their contribution. We still need their support, but the way we communicate that is very different.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Texas Mutual, and let's talk about your role there, because you've been there a long time, but you've also achieved a lot of growth. And one of the things that I think, one of the misconceptions that I encounter a lot is people think you have to move in order to grow professionally, and I have not found that to be the case. I've had 2 employers in my entire professional career, but I've always been very growth oriented. Tell me how you look at that.
And when you tell people that, they look at you like you're from another planet or something, right? Like it's the same. So I've been at Texas Mutual for 28 years now. Originally started kind of right out of school of being an administrative assistant in the government affairs department, and answering phones, filing paperwork, going down to the Capitol and like listening to hearings because like the internet didn't exist back then. It was so long ago, like you couldn't live stream anything, and I don't even know if that job still exists. I took the boys to the Capitol a few years ago, and I'm like, this is the bank where all the payphones were, because when something happened, you paged your boss. Remember pagers?
Them,
yeah,
yes.
You paged your boss, and you went to the payphone and waited for the call back so you could tell them what's going on. And the boys were like, what a weird time you lived in, Daddy. Like, was the world in color?
Fair.
But like starting from that opportunity and now being the VP of Marketing and Community Affairs, I've had like 7 different jobs throughout the organization, and every one of them has not necessarily existed in the exact same way as it was before. So what has found it very fulfilling for me is having like people who see the talent, understand the value you're bringing, and then help like create an opportunity. So it's been like it's not been a super linear path, but it's been a really rewarding one.
So what is it that you like about the work you do? Like if you were to say like, this is the thing that like, that lights me up about what I do, what would it be?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like we believe we are a mission-driven company, and like we really are a mission-driven company, and we're all about the people, and we're all about taking care of Texans and Texas business, and the ability to tell that story and tell that in a way that's like real. I mean, I tell people all the time for the advertising side of things, like we don't need a duck or like a lady in a smock or whatever. Like we don't need gimmicks or mascots or whatever. Like we just need to tell like real stories about the great work that people do every day, and being where I am in charge of sort of the brand function and being able to do that is really just the most rewarding thing.
So what is the most common myth or mistake that people believe about your organization?
That insurance companies are terrible, and every insurance company is terrible. And we had a CEO that really helped build up our community affairs function that came in 2013. He'd retired a couple years ago, and he's like, every insurance company ad is like, insurance companies are terrible. We're less terrible, so like buy from us. He's like, that's why would we do that? Like we're selling a promise, and we're stepping in and taking care of people when something awful has happened to them, and like making them as whole as we can. Like we should be aspirational, and we should be relentlessly positive is the way he framed it. And so that's what I spent a lot of time talking about. It's like how we're relentlessly positively making a difference in the lives of Texans every day.
Relentlessly positive. I like that. That's reminding me of when I joined Amplify. And so I'd tell people, oh, I have this new job. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Amplify Credit Union. And they say, oh, man, I should talk to you guys. I really hate my bank.
Right.
And let me tell you all the reasons I hate my bank. And I say, oh, wow, okay. And, how long have you been with them? 20 years. How long have you hated them? 19. It's like this sort of sense of inertia around like, well, this industry is just obnoxious, and it's really trying to get one over on the people they serve, and people just kind of accept that as true. And it's like, one, I'm going to give some validity to. There are plenty of things about our industry that we don't do, and that our industry broadly does. And so I'm going to say that is come by honestly, and for a lot of folks. But also, it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like we can look at our business model differently. We can approach things in a different way, and then we can earn a different attitude from the people that we interact with. And it sounds similar to what you're doing.
Yeah, when you think about the foundation of our companies, we're a mutual company, which means we're owned by our policyholders, which are mostly all small business owners in the state of Texas. And like that's who we're answerable to, and that's who we're here to take care of. And it's very similar to the credit union model, which is when I look at all like our branding and community stuff, and I think about HEB, I think about credit unions, and I think about Frost in a way feels like a bank. It's a different kind of bank. But yeah, I think it's that like being mission first, being member first for y'all, being mission focused for us is really the important differential.
Yeah, well, and whether that really comes through in the way you make decisions, the way you approach products, the way you serve customers. It's like for so many organizations, it's just wallpaper, right? Like it's words on a website, it's wallpaper in a hallway, but it doesn't actually mean anything when it comes down to the way that you work with your customer or your member. But if you are actually mission driven and it does filter into that, it can create a different experience.
And you're out in the public and you get that, right? Like I hear from people all the time, like, oh, Texas Mutual, y'all are so great. You did blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's good to know that what we say, the things we say and the things we do are similar. They're the same. We're delivering on the promise.
Absolutely. So I want to shift gears into soccer in Austin. You have been a part of making soccer a thing here, and it's kind of a thing now. I get to go to our matches at Q2 Stadium, and I get to cheer on Austin FC, and I still know absolutely nothing about soccer. I have grown my soccer knowledge 0%, but I have grown my soccer fandom about 1,000%. And that didn't happen on accident. You were kind of part of the initiative to make that true. Tell us about that.
I appreciate that. That's very kind. There are a whole bunch of people that were part of the initiative to make that true. But one of the things that I did is join the first Austin FC supporters group that was working to bring the team to town before, like, what was still an idea, in somebody's head. And that involved like going to a bunch of community meetings and going to City Hall. And then because I was also on the Austin Chamber of Commerce board at the time, I had the chance at 3:00 in the morning to testify for 90 seconds about how great soccer was going to be for Austin and how it was going to bring the community together and stuff like that. And so there was that experience. Texas Mutual's been a supporter of the club since it started. Started a little soccer podcast a year and a half before the team even started playing to talk about the club. So it's been a huge part of Austin. One of the coolest things about it, I remember Mayor Adler would talk about how like we're going to bring this team to town and it's going to unify this community in a way that hasn't been before. And people from north and south and east and west and different demographic profiles and stuff will all get together. And I remember seeing him like a year ago. I was like, you were right. Like, I have these friends that I see in the stadium every week. I don't know where they're from. I don't know what they do, right? We just like, we have this common love of soccer. And I think that's the coolest thing about the whole experience is you don't have to know a lot about the game when the community's so open and welcoming.
Absolutely. What's like when I show up to the matches or, your event for your podcast and just chatting about soccer things, I'm never made to feel like, oh, you don't know. Like, you don't know the backstory of this player, or you don't know why the play went this way or that way. It's very much like, oh, can I tell you? It's this like excitement about like, oh, here's another person that can, be into soccer.
And to your point, like you didn't have to have been around for all the awful city council stuff. Like you could have just showed up 12 months ago and been like, this is fun. And like it's an open, welcoming community. And the other part about it is it's about more than just soccer too. Because like I would imagine at that event, you talked a little soccer and talked a little Austin and talked a little. I've got people I've done bike rides with, and a group of us all ran the half marathon together last year. And it's a real community.
Yeah. So your podcast, you record every week.
Every week. We were looking for 51 weeks a year, and then we had a busy week of Christmas. So we did 52 this year.
And so what has that experience been like? So it's been, 3 years now that you've had the podcast?
It's been since 2020.
Oh, wow.
So the team started in 2021. We started doing a show in 2020.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how you approach prep for this show, but what we felt like is we would do a bunch of real bad shows when only our family was listening. And then by the time the team started playing, we might actually be saying things that people care about. And that kind of worked out. So it's been a great experience. We've gotten to do a lot of cool stuff. We got to meet the Queen of the Netherlands came through one time, and so we were like media for that. That was super fun. Gotten to meet a bunch of like ex-US national team players, now broadcasters, and just had like this really, really cool experience you wouldn't have had any other way except through the show.
Wow. So I want some fun soccer facts. What would surprise me about soccer in Austin?
About soccer in Austin. Mm-hmm. Beyond
or even just soccer generally. We can go broad soccer facts too.
I mean, one thing that throws everybody off is just like the number of competitions, right? There's like the league, and there's the Champions League, and then there's the US Open Cup, and like all those things. And so just like understanding those connection points is really pretty interesting. I mean, the fact that it is the globe's game, and it's the one sport in this country where like the best league in the world is not here. And I think that's the thing that like people struggle with, right? Like we've got a lot of people who are Premier League fans and Spanish League fans and stuff like that. But when you think about NBA, NFL, MLB, like that's the place to be. And so learning our part in the soccer hierarchy, I guess the biggest surprising thing is there are no playoffs.
That does surprise me. Okay.
In England and Spain. Sorry, there are playoffs in the US, but like in the big leagues in Europe, you play the whole year, and whoever's the best team at the end of the year that's won the most games is like the champion. And I remember the first time I started following Premier League, I'm like, oh, well, Liverpool's doing really good, and they're in second, and we'll get a good playoff spot. And then they're like, no, the year's over. There are no playoffs. There are no playoffs in Europe.
Well, that's interesting. So another guest this season, Janice Omedeki, she mentioned, I asked about some advice on Austin, and she had some really good advice about continue to be a neighbor, which I thought was cool. But also she mentioned also maybe a little less navel gazing here in Austin. Like just look up and recognize there are other places in the country and in the world that are doing things that we could bring back to Austin. And soccer strikes me as one of those, of like, we are learning from and absorbing from other places in the world instead of, we're very proud of the things that start here, change the world, as one of our local education institutions likes to say. But it does strike me that we also have the opportunity to bring things in from other places.
So one thing I would say on that experience, so you've been to the games and you watch this, you see the South End, and you have all the crazy people with the band, and that's not very European. That's very like Central South American kind of culture. And so that was the decision that the group that kind of leads all that did make coming in. Is like, we're going to be like the party in the stands for 90 minutes. And that was like super intentional. And it was something we brought in from another part of the world. And if you only grew up watching the Premier League or soccer in Spain, you'd be like, this is strange. This is not my experience. But like, that's kind of what we all decided. And another thing is like, those people are all volunteers. Those people mostly all have to buy their own tickets. Like they're paying to be there to like play the drums and jump up and down and like be an insane person for 90 minutes long.
Well, and I love it. Absolutely. I'm sure I am not alone. And like, that is my favorite part of the matches, is just feeling the energy from the South End and seeing all I don't remember what they're called, the things that you paint on, that you put the big tifo. Yep. That's it. I just look at them and I'm like, that took a bajillion hours. Like, you can just look at it and tell that took humans that are not getting paid just because they're passionate about something a bajillion hours to do. And it's like, that's inspiring something.
To hold up for 3 minutes and then be be put down and then go into storage or whatever. I mean, part of that tradition on TIFO is that each is an original piece of art for that specific point in time. And then you don't go put it on a wall of a sponsor or whatever, right? That just sort of exists in that moment. That's super cool too. So one of the things we talk about on the show is like soccer culture is something that the fans help create. It's not something that you consume. Like I love going to Longhorn games. But you're very much a person who's like being fed the game day experience, and you yell at the times that somebody tells you to yell, and you sing at the times somebody tells you to sing. But like in soccer culture, like the fans are the one creating that whole environment. And there's not, obviously there's a very talented marketing department, you know, but they're not the one that's like really directing game day atmosphere.
Man. Okay, so if you were to take the passion that gets created and activated at one of those matches and to direct it to an issue in Austin. So as we think about, that Austin's best days are not behind us, and also we have work to do here. So always what I like to explore on this podcast is what is it that we can learn from our past and make sure that we carry through to our future so that our next chapter is at least as successful, if in a different way, than our prior ones. What would be the thing that you would look at?
For me, we need to do transit like in a real way. And I know that there's like things underway, and it's interesting because a lot of the, there's a big stop at the stadium.
Yeah.
And, a lot of folks that are fans take the bus into games or take the train into games, and like that's their experience. There's probably an outnumbered part of that fan base that actually like uses Cap Metro, but I think that's a big opportunity for Austin. Like, we got to get people around in a way that doesn't have me sitting on 183 and I-35 for an hour coming and going every day.
Absolutely. Well, and it's, so many people I talk to, it's like, an all of the above sort of method in transportation. And I am a believer in that. And also, I think it was Kirk Watson when he was on Campo's board that he said, he spoke to my Leadership Austin class on transportation. And he said, all right, here's where I'm going to start. There's not enough money. Like, let's just start there. Yeah.
Right.
And then we're gonna back the conversation out to what our challenges are and whatnot. And it feels like we do have a sort of finite pie mentality when it comes to transportation of like, oh, well, if I support transit, then that must mean less money for roads. Or if I support a bike lane, then that must mean less capacity for cars. And to some extent, of course, we do have finite resources, but also we could have more of a grow the pie mentality when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we don't do a very good job of that. And the advocates for each of those like modes of transportation end up like against each other on all these different types of projects and stuff. And yeah, if we could collaborate more, that would be awesome. If everybody would give up a little, what we could bring our passion to is everybody giving up a little of their ego for the greater good.
Ooh.
On any issue. I think that we're all working collectively to solve. We'd probably all be better off and a lot further forward in terms of moving Austin forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So as I think about what I want next for Austin, I think what I want next for Austin is that people continue to experience that special thing when you show up to, I remember I was young in my career and I would show up to these networking events and I was really nervous because I didn't really know how to do this at all. And just, I was just like, just go meet people. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll go meet people. And mostly what we talked about is like, oh, okay, we're at the happy hour doing the thing. And oh man, I love Austin. Here's what I love about Austin. Here's my favorite thing. And it's like, and how can I help you? That seemed to be, I remember I would train people on networking when in my prior role, and we would be in various different Texas cities. And I would get people that would come from, say, like a Houston or a Dallas or some other area. And I would have to tell them, hey, look, here in Austin, the first question we ask is not, what do you do? Because that was the experience. In like a Houston or a Dallas, it's like you meet somebody, oh, what do you do? Or, that stare at the name tag and decide if you're important enough to talk to. It was the experience I often had. And so I would kind of have to tell people, like, that's not really how we do it in Austin. Like a much more common thing you're going to hear is like, oh, what are you into? What are you interested in? What's exciting to you today? Things like that. And I just love that about our culture, and I want to carry that forward. That's
perfect. Yeah. What's your favorite place to eat in Austin? What's your favorite thing to do? All those, what's your kind of, comfort spot? Like, I think, for me, like Don's Depot and the Mean-Eyed Cat. Like, as long as those places are still around and I can just go and watch like generations of Austinites have a good time all together. I think both places are great for like brand new people and people who've been here forever.
Absolutely.
They get together and have a good time and like share this community experience. I think it's awesome.
Well, and what's interesting about that? So Mean-Eyed Cat is owned by FBR, FBH, Food Beverage Hospitality. They own Lala's, they own Dumont's Down Low, they own a bunch of them, and a lot of them are these iconic Austin places that had been struggling or that might be tough to make it. And so they've sort of come in and refined a little, kind of upgraded a little, but kept what made it cool. Yeah, and it's like that's what we need to do here. It's
Yeah.
like, here's the cool thing, and let's keep the cool thing while we future-proof it so that it can continue to be here for other people.
Yeah, let's make Lala's a year-round Christmas bar, but like wipe the spider webs out of the corner at the top, right? Yeah, I didn't know that was what they did, but that seems like a great experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, one thing I always like to end on. Well, one is anything I didn't ask you that you want me to. Anything you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of it. I just, I think I've appreciated getting to know you and getting to know the people in Austin. And I think one of the things I love most about this city is that it's a pretty big city, but still really a small town vibe, right? The people who do the things are the kind of the same people that do all the things, but but all very supportive and welcoming, and never, trying to get over on somebody else. We talked about looking at the name tag or deciding if they're important enough to talk to or whatever. Like, I don't ever get that when I'm in rooms. And so I hope that that's one thing that we keep and continue for, because there's a lot of opportunity in that.
Absolutely. So the last question I always like to end on with all of my guests is, if there is one thing that you want us to carry forward in addition to what you just said, I'm even going to put you on the spot. If you had to pick one breakfast taco to let live and everybody else had to die, which one would it be?
One breakfast taco.
One breakfast taco.
That's a tough one.
I know. It's a brutal question. As I ask it, I can't even come up with my own answer to this question. It's so difficult.
Well, this is going to be super weird because it's not a place you would think about. But the place I'm going to expand this to breakfast.
All right, fair.
There's a place called Donut 7, which is close to the stadium.
Okay.
And they have donuts my kids like, breakfast tacos my wife loves, and like a breakfast sandwich that I like. And like, there's almost nowhere that you can find all those combinations of things.
Okay, so on my list now, Donut 7 for breakfast.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.